Hello. In these first 3 videos, I would like to introduce the Academy, but more specifically, in this video, I will introduce myself. My name is Lorenzo. I was born in 1998 and I grew up in Genoa, Italy. From a very early age, I was fascinated by the natural world, by how living systems work, how they change, and how they interact. At the age of 14, I went to scientific high school here in Italy. This means that this kind of school was focusing on topics like biology, chemistry, geology, but also physics, mathematics, without excluding humanities like Italian literature, English literature, history of art. Here is where I realized that my curiosity couldn't really fit one single box. As a matter of fact, alongside science, I fell in love quite quickly with humanities, such as the study of literature. Precisely the reading times, discussion times, and interpretation of texts that mattered to me as much as it could matter a lesson on science where I was getting to know scientific discoveries and scientific facts. Those years, they shaped me a lot. Not just because of what I studied, but also the way I was taught these subjects. I was a lucky student because I had the chance to meet those that I consider the best professors I've ever had. They showed me that learning isn't just about content. It's about passion, it's about human connection. But not everything was great. I also saw the opposite, actually. Teachers who were disengaged, mentally rigid, close-minded, and at times even discriminatory for who I was and hostile. Living between these two extremes made me start questioning education itself. So, finished high school. In 2017, I started my bachelor's degree at the University of Genoa in biological sciences. This was concluded in 2020 during COVID summer, whereas it was actually in Madrid because the third year of my degree I decided to spend in Erasmus at the Complutense University of Madrid. Unfortunately, I was quite disappointed by the bachelor's degree overall. I often felt that topics that should have been fascinating were somehow flattened, stripped of context, of meaning, and disconnected from real life as well, which is not what I was feeling during high school. I started to feel that science was taking quite a distance from me in scale and in relevance. So I thought that I could move to a more practical branch of biology that was the one merging plant sciences and genetics. So I enrolled after the end of the bachelor's degree in a master's degree in plant breeding and seed science at the University of Hohenheim in Stuttgart. Basically, the main topics was genetic improvement of plants. But again, that period coincided with COVID. So from 2020 to 2022, basically all the lectures were pre-recorded and there was quite some distance with professors. There wasn't really communication between students and professors. So I did graduate in 2022 and I felt that I received some knowledge, but I was feeling directionless by then and that I could not really frame all the knowledge I received into a path, a direction. And I was also feeling somehow that the initial spark that made me choose biological sciences so securely had almost faded away. At that point, I wanted to start working in a breeding company, but somehow something was missing at the time of applications for jobs. So I thought that probably I had to do another degree, a doctoral degree this time. Applying here and there, I eventually got accepted in spring 2023 to start in the next autumn in a university nearby Tel Aviv. Now, as you know, something dreadful started happening in October 2023. So my departure was delayed till January 2024. Here, the topic of the PhD degree was agricultural plant evolution using genetic tools. I think I will go through this topic in some videos in the future, quite for sure I will. So I will not focus on that much in here. But what I can say is that scientifically, it was a very interesting and engaging topic. And I also had the chance to work in the farm, to do farm experiments and genetic screenings of plants. But the problem again, as a continuum since the bachelor's degree, was the human contact. Here, unfortunately, mentorship was minimal, dialogue was rare, often destructive and not constructive. Even individuality was seen as a problem during this degree. So it didn't go well, basically. After a certain time, I started wondering whether the problem was me or the topic or what. I realized that the problem was communication. The problem was not the content. The problem was how I was given these topics. to work or to study with. So in such an environment where communication was dysfunctional and, as I mentioned, was basically always destructive, I started feeling that the program was going nowhere, that I wanted to finish it, I wanted to complete it for the sake of getting publication or a PhD certificate. But I felt that I could not do much of myself in it, except for a certain time, which was the summer 2025. This has been a turning point because while I was left alone in the lab to manage and to coordinate the lab activities, I had the chance, I really want to stress this, it was a luck to me, to work with high school students. I had 3 students who were helping me processing harvested plants in the lab. And here is where I felt again, talking with them, specifically with one of them, I felt like I was thrown back somehow to the high school time. What changed actually? It changed that after some getting to know between me and the students were actually interested in getting to know what I was doing and what I was studying. So I could communicate eventually what I was doing. And learning at that point became shared again, like it was during high school in a classroom environment. It became shared, it became discussed, and somehow lived together. So I built a relationship with trust, with dialogue, also with humor through these conversations. This approach worked better than any other top-down approach that I was imposed. So after so long, after so many years, I started feeling that I was actually giving something of myself eventually, again, like it was happening in high school. And it didn't happen for all that time. When I tried to voice this perspective, so what was actually missing in the PhD degree, but actually missed also during the bachelor or the master's degree, this critique wasn't really welcomed. As a matter of fact, after a few months from criticizing what was actually missing or what was wrong, I got fired abruptly. So the working relationship just was imposed to an end. Ironically, that human-centered approach that made me breathe again and made my spark relieve somehow was the reason why I got fired from the PhD degree. So this is how the idea of the academy came to place. The academy was born from this tension. I decided that I wanted to stop to wait for the permission to communicate in the way I want and with the people I want. This is when I realized that I wanted to create my own space where science, where education, where knowledge could be lived and discussed and shared without this top-down approach and judgment and accusations. So this academy is not built on authority, as you can realize already at this time of the video. This academy is built on curiosity, on the desire for dialogue, for sharing, for discussion of topics, like it used to happen in the classroom environment at high school already more than 10 years ago.